Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 26th, 2018 edition of Our City, taped live right here in the mayor's office at the Muscatine City Hall. We have a couple of wonderful guests tonight that we can't wait to get to, but first of all, I would like to start with a couple things that just happened over the weekend. On Sunday, we had the annual ice cream social at the Muscatine Arts Center. It was highly attended. Everybody said lots of wonderful things. My family was in Des Moines for the day, so we weren't actually able to attend. We missed it, but it is so nice to be able to see it through the videos, through the pictures, lots of good stuff. They had music, they had crafts, they had all kinds of games for the entire family to engage in. I don't even know what's the name of this band? Cruisin'. There you go. Well, there you go. Now I can see him. Yep. Really nice show. Well, there we go. If you missed it, it'll be on again next year because Melanie Alexander puts it on every single year. The other thing I just wanted to share a couple of quick pictures with you. We had Coffee with the Mayor on Saturday. We have that typically the fourth Saturday of each month, so the next time we'll have it'll be July 28th. But it is really just a time for us to get together. Anybody from the community is welcome to come, grab a cup of coffee, and we just sit around the table and visit and talk with one another. People ask questions, you know, how's this road construction going, or what's the new rule on fireworks, which we'll learn a little bit more about later. Just a lot of people talking and visiting. Casual time for people to be engaged in their local government. We really enjoy our Saturday mornings having coffee. We actually had two council there. Oz Malcolm was there. He talked about his trip to Poland recently that he did for Muscatine Sister Cities. And Nadine Brockert attended as well on Saturday. We had a couple of business people there. Jeff Doffelt's there. Just a good time to sit and visit and talk with one another. So if you haven't made it out to one of our Coffee with the Mayors, I'd highly encourage you to do so. We'll have a good time visiting and talking. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to get to our first guest. We have Jody Royal Goodwin, who is the City of Muscatine's Housing Director. Is that correct? It's a Housing Administrator. Thank you for coming, Jody.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, certainly. Well, first of all, we have a public housing agency, right?
Correct.
That's what can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so a public housing agency is set up under both state and federal law that kind of work in tandem so that you can apply for a long time ago and receive funding through the federal U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for affordable housing programs. The primary ones that most people are familiar with are public housing and the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, which has gone through a number of different names, but today that's what it's called.
Okay. So what's the difference then? Like Sunset Park, that's owned by the city,
Yes.
right? And is that public housing?
That is public housing.
Okay.
So public housing is, we own and operate it, so it's site-based, whereas
Okay.
the voucher program, also known as Section 8, is where a client gets assistance, we'll help pay their rent, but they go choose a market or a unit on the private market.
Okay.
So they rent from any landlord in town other than public housing.
Sure.
So,
But of course, you make sure that those are safe places for them to rent.
we do. We have a rental requirement, and actually now we partner with the Community Development Office to have those inspected so that it meets both the rental code requirements, make sure it's a registered rental, and that it meets the voucher program standards. So
Okay.
the requirement is that all public housing, Section 8 housing, whatever you want to, either one, is safe, decent, and sanitary. So
Okay.
it's not going to have marble countertops 99% of the time, unless
Sure.
you get really lucky.
Uh-huh.
But it's not going to have holes in the floor either. So
Okay. So how many public housing places do we have in Muscatine?
we have 150 units of public housing, 100 units for seniors, 50 and up, and then 50 units of family housing.
Okay. So that would be at Sunset Parks.
And Clark
House.
Mhm.
And then Hershey Manor?
We manage.
Manage, but someone else owns it.
Yes, the Hershey Manor Board owns Hershey Manor, obviously, and that is, it's a kind of a combination of the two. It's site-based, but it has a PRAC, a project-based rental assistance contract. So the tenants there only pay 30% of their rent or their income on rent.
So it is
an affordable property.
sliding fee scale.
Yes.
Based on their
Yes,
income.
so.
Okay, very good.
So yes, all 50 people in there pay different amounts.
So how does the Muscatine Housing Agency differ from public housing?
So there are lots of ways I feel like we're different. I mean, having worked around the country and then just interacting at trainings and that kind of thing, is we actually have a highly educated, and I don't mean this in a bad way for other public housing agencies, is one, so first, I'll go back a little bit. Because we are part of the city, we're in the minority of housing agencies. Most housing agencies are actually standalone entities that are quasi-governmental and vary in size in a great deal. But then as part of the city, we're in a minority. But we also have, like I said, a highly educated staff. We don't have a housing specialist that doesn't have a degree. And all of those, the majority of those degrees are focused on human services. So there's a natural inclination of the staff to kind of look at where the client is and how to help them in addition to their housing assistance. You know, I think some people think that you can give somebody a housing subsidy and then magically their world becomes a better place. They become better people. We didn't change their educational attainment. We didn't change, you know, the kids' behavior problems. We didn't change their medical problems. So we have to help them in different ways. And so once you can stabilize, and you don't have to worry about, can I pay rent next month as much? Not to say that it's easy all the time, but if they're paying the appropriate portion of their income towards rent, then we can stabilize them and start to work on other programs. So some programs that we offer, we have an education program and enrichment program for the young children that live at Sunset Park. And so
I've seen that, it's wonderful.
It is a wonderful program, and the reason that's so important is because it helps break the cycle of poverty, and there have been a number of studies that show that if you can help those children in low-income families in the place where they live, they have a much higher success rate. And we see that we have about a 75% success rate in the kids being able to meet their benchmarks even when they come in way, way behind. And sometimes, you know, with limited English proficiency and all of that. So we can overcome those obstacles because it's, one, a smaller program, and two, it's right there where they're at. So we can even connect with their families a little more, you know, because management and the teaching staff can coordinate that kind of stuff. So that's one thing we do. We have an FSS program, Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which is another HUD-funded program, but is really focused on them becoming self-sufficient, helping them increase their earned income so they can move on to better things. Some of them never can, or not never, but don't get off of the voucher program right away, but they are saving money. And so, but one of the biggest things we do is we have a housing counseling program, which historically has focused a lot on home ownership and assisting first-time home buyers, which is great because that moves people on as well. I mean, it helps people achieve the American dream, become really integrated in their communities, and develop some assets. And over time, so that program's been in existence almost 10 years now, and it has helped in the past 5 years, almost 1,000 people, and 144 people have actually become home owners. And then we have it's just a number of programs. And so housing counseling is this wide range of things. He's certified to assist with budgeting and financial management. He can help with credit repair because he can help you pull your credit report. And so he kind of advocates on a different level than even any of the other housing specialists. So we have the self-sufficiency specialist, and we have, you know, but the housing counseling focuses on some more technical aspects of how to improve your life. And so we started a Step Ahead class to help renters, both to help the landlords and to help the tenants, because they focus on what are the tenants' rights and responsibilities, what are the clients' rights or the landlord's rights and responsibilities, everything from fair housing to housekeeping.
Sure.
How do you get your deposit back? What do you do when you move on move-in day to help protect your deposit on
Sure.
move-out day? Which hopefully you can have a good relationship and a long tenancy, because moving is expensive.
It is.
You know,
it sets everyone back.
so yeah, and turnover is hard on units, and so that's kind of what we do that's different from a lot of other agencies, from the management of Hershey Manor all the way to the education programs for both adults and kids.
Well, I love how your organization, your department, looks at the big picture and really tries to help the family, starting at the family strengths, and tries to build on those strengths, because you're right, housing is not just a bubble there. I mean, it's the whole family, you know, and you have wages, you're right, medical issues, you have the children going to school or not, and all of these different things, and that just plays into, that's one of them. Even though it's the biggest one, there are other things that can impact that.
Right.
And when families don't start out healthy because maybe they weren't raised in a strong home, they don't come with the same strengths that we would expect that family or that young people start out with.
That's very true.
So having these ways to empower them is just fabulous.
And we have to overlay. I mean, and again, going back to some of the other things we do, is strong partnerships with the community.
Yes.
It's not like we think we're the end-all be-all.
Sure,
that we can do it all.
referrals and yes,
And
yes.
just, you know, we work with the county and MCSA on how do we help people get the housing choices they need, even if they can't get on our program. How do they get the
Sure.
services? How do we stabilize them? You know, we do contract as a city with MCSA to provide housing stabilization services for families that are on the brink of homelessness. So those kinds of things are really important, and reaching out to other organizations, and again, educating the landlords, not just on their responsibilities and their rights, but on fair housing law and all of those things, and how to work with the clients, you know, because you're not always doing somebody a favor if you just let them do whatever they want to do. No more than your teenage child who says, I don't want to do that, or whatever. You can't just let them go. And unfortunately, sometimes it's hard because we are talking about adults for the most part. And if somebody hasn't had any or really strong guidance for 20, 30 years, how do you help them move on? And so I've kind of taken on a trickle effect with or drip effect with our staff, is just keep repeating the same thing, and hopefully it'll start to sink in. And that's kind of, I think, if we're all telling the same thing to the tenants, from the landlords to all the social service agencies they're dealing with, how can we get them
We're all giving the same messages.
Correct. So
and hopefully that's going to be a big impact.
Yeah. So
one housing project that I would love to see you have down the road, although I don't know that Muscatine's big enough, but in my travels throughout with the Why I Do a Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program, and I was able to see a couple of legacy projects, they call them, which is a housing project just for grandparents raising their grandchildren, and so they're the only ones that are allowed to live in these height. It's kind of like the towers, and they do support programs downstairs, and they can come down for lunch and do a variety of things, and just to have them all together, because a lot of the elderly housing places don't allow children. And so
I'll give you a fair housing thing, is they can't deny a grandparent who's raising a child. So they have to allow them in. And that is an important piece of information to have.
Yes, it is.
And if that's something we want and there's a need for, I don't think it's against, it might not be a 100-unit or 50-unit project, but maybe there are 5 units that need that kind of service. And
it'd be amazing.
We've actually had conversations with our education program, because we do have the elderly housing, is can we get the children from the education program once a week or once a month or whatever down to, say, Clark House to do reading, like so foster parent, foster grandparent kind of thing. So to get that intergenerational mix, I think that's important.
It is. I was in Honolulu for some meetings about a year ago, and we toured a daycare that was an adult daycare and a child's daycare combined.
Oh.
And so
that would be cool.
It was so amazing. the elderly people just thrived having all of the young children around them.
Mm-hmm.
And the children loved having the elderly people read to them and do crafts with them. It was such a win-win for both.
I can
both
completely
ages.
see that.
Yeah, it was so wonderful. Well, I think all of the different things that you're doing for families in our community is just amazing. And the way you're able to think outside the box and not just be a place that hands out Section 8 vouchers, but really some people, you know, not just you, but all the other staff that you have, you know, working together to strengthen the families and do different things.
All I do is tell them what to
Raise
do.
them up. There you go. So are there any other projects going on right now that we need to know about?
Well, Harrison Lofts, the first project-based voucher, first tax credit property in a number of years in the community.
Yes.
And we have the first project-based vouchers allocated to that.
Uh-huh.
It should open in July, start taking tenants, so we're finishing that project. We have 4th Street properties, which will, again, provide project-based vouchers to persons who are literally homeless, meaning they're either living in a shelter or place not meant for human habitation or fleeing domestic violence.
Okay.
We have 6 units that will be opening probably in the next 60 to 90 days at most. And then we also were in the process of getting all of HUD's approvals for another tax credit property, which is the Oak Park property,
yes.
which will provide another 48 units of senior housing to the community.
Okay. So the project-based housing at Harrison Lofts, what will that provide?
So they'll just be integrated into the project. So there are
Yes.
13 units which
Okay.
will receive essentially Section 8 voucher assistance to live in that property in specific units. So yes.
So when will the waiting list be opened up again?
Our waiting list has been open for more than a year. We
That's
have
great.
made a decision unless it
To
gets
leave it open.
Yeah, unless it gets unruly, we'll leave it open. We'll purge every year. Because if somebody moves or leaves and doesn't change their address and stuff, we don't have a way to get a hold of them when they do come to the top of the list, so it slows down the process of getting people help when we do.
So you go through it even when you don't, when you're not close to using people off the list, you still go through it and keep it current.
Yes. So
That's a great
I
idea.
encourage anybody who's on the list to make sure they notify us, call, send us a note, come in, whatever
Their
it
cell
takes.
phone numbers change and those kinds of things.
Because, if we can't get a hold of you, we can't help you.
Exactly.
And then again, we're encouraging everybody to take step ahead class because we've given a sub preference for that. So if you're on the waiting list, you're a family or disabled person, you're on that waiting list. If you take the class, you go ahead of other people who haven't taken the class that meet the same preference category. Not to be bad to anybody, but to help people who are willing to get engaged in their own self-sufficiency.
How long does the Step Ahead class take to get through it?
The Step Ahead class itself is 2 hours, and we are scheduling about 3 months out. But that compares to if you're on that list, you're probably over 2 years of getting assistance if you're the newest person on the list.
Oh, wow.
So you could be on in 6 months compared to 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So
Good way to move yourself up the list.
exactly.
At the same time, getting some vital information into your family.
Yep.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming, Jody.
Thank you.
If something new comes up, will you get a hold of us and come back again?
I will.
I know this is a topic that we all need to know about, whether we're in our own homes or not. We all have family members that are always searching or looking for someplace, or our neighbors, different things like that. So we all need to be up to date on what's going on.
And we need a healthy housing market to make a healthy community.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Now, why don't we switch gears here a little bit? I wanted to talk to you about I guess this is, what do we have up here? This looks like something with the class, the housing class that Jody was just talking about. But why don't we go ahead and switch gears and talk about something that's upcoming that I don't want anybody to miss. It is the Musser Library grand opening that's going to be this coming Saturday, and there is so much stuff going on. At 11 o'clock, they're going to have an Uncle Rabbit puppet show with the Eulenspiegel Puppet Theater. And if you ever haven't gotten a chance to see their puppet shows, they are wonderful. 1 o'clock, they're going to have a finger puppet making workshop. And then I'm going to do a ribbon cutting at 3 o'clock. Probably get some kids involved with that. 3:30, we're going to have a Little Red Riding Hood puppet show. We're going to have some music. Adam Griffin's going to be there. Funk Daddies are going to be there. And, of course, you can sign up for library cards. And I know I've talked to Pam Collins, our library director, for about 1.5 years, and they had ordered these huge blue blocks that you could just throw around and play with. We had hoped to get them for the community block party last year. They didn't make it in. So then we hoped to get them for Halloween at the Y. They didn't make it in. Now here we are in July. They're here. So they're going to make a grand appearance, and everybody can play with the big blue blocks. And there'll be a ton of other stuff. So if you can make it out to the library anywhere from 11 o'clock on Saturday, please do. It'll be a great day. We love our new library. It is fabulous, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing for our community. Well, I want to get to our next guest. We have our police chief, Brett Talkington, here, and he's going to talk to us about fireworks, because we all know 4th of July is next week, Independence Day. And if you're like me, you are hearing fireworks going off around the community. And we need to know what the rules are and what they aren't, and we want to make sure that we can all comply with those. So Brett's here, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what the new rules are. Last year was crazy.
It was definitely crazy. They didn't give us much time to actually get ready for it, so.
They didn't.
I think we're a little bit more prepared this year, although
Yes.
we just hope that people will abide by the rules this year, unlike
Right.
last year. Hopefully some of the newness wears off of the fireworks.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that too.
You're right. And
If, you know,
that's what we've heard from other states, that usually after
Okay.
a couple, 2-3 years, that the newness wears off, so I'm hoping that ours starts wearing off, so.
because the law is now in the state that every community has to allow them to sell them. Is that correct?
Correct, in certain zones. The only
Okay.
restrictions are the zoning ordinances.
Sure.
so.
So we have to let them sell them. We don't have to let them put them off at all, right?
Correct. The city council has chosen to let them shoot them off on the 3rd and the 4th of July
Okay.
from 9 a.m. through 10 p.m.
So both days?
Both days.
Both days?
Correct.
Okay. So they can do it from 9 o'clock in the morning on the 3rd all the way through till 10 o'clock on the 4th if they want.
Yes, and hopefully people will abide by that. Sometimes they want to go a little bit later than that, but we hope that they would shut them off by
Sure.
10 o'clock because a lot of people have to work.
That's
so.
what I was going to say. The next day, I mean, we'd actually talked about doing them on the 3rd because my husband gets up so early for work.
Right.
And so then on the 5th, you know, you don't necessarily want to be up till 10 o'clock.
No, I'm not up that
Yeah.
late anyway.
Yeah, he's
so-
not either.
And I don't want somebody helping
I
me
am,
up with
but he's not.
fireworks.
No, but on the 3rd, you don't have to work on the 4th. So you
Correct.
could stay up till 10.
Right.
So what should people do if they hear or see fireworks that are going off outside of these parameters?
They can call the police department and
Okay.
we'll respond to an officer to the scene. One of the biggest problems that we ran into last year was proving who was shooting the fireworks
Sure.
off. Usually by the time we get there,
It's
nothing's
over.
going on.
Yeah.
But there is a city ordinance that holds people responsible that own the property. So people need to be aware of that they can still be fined.
Even
they're
if it
shooting
wasn't them?
Even if it wasn't them. They're
Oh,
responsible
okay.
for their property.
Okay. Well, you know, I heard a lot of people. I probably had as many calls as you did last year.
Right.
Or we both had a
It
lot.
was a
Let's
lot.
put it that way.
Right.
And people were saying that their homes were damaged by people shooting them at their siding, or at the end of the day, then they would have all of these pieces of paper all over their yard.
Yes, it's kind of funny you say that because I was cleaning my gutters the other day and I cleaned some out of my gutters. There
Really?
was some fireworks in my gutters. So.
Well, people don't dare do them in your neighborhood.
Oh,
when
no,
it's
no.
outside of these parameters.
But yeah,
do
we
they?
did have some damage to vehicles. We
Yes.
had damage to property, and I think we had one, if not more, with a fire
Injury?
got started.
Or a
and
fire?
we did have injuries too.
We did have
so.
injuries.
Yeah, and Mike Hartman obviously would have more information on that, but we
Sure,
did have
sure.
some problems with that as well. So they're dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, if people are just not paying attention to what they're doing with them. So, you know, you have to be 18 or over to shoot them off too.
Is that true?
That is
Okay.
true.
Okay.
17 and under, you can shoot them off with direct supervision with
All
a
right.
parent or whoever you're with, a
Okay.
guardian, on your property or somebody else's property.
17 and over. 17
17 and under.
17 and under.
Have to
you
have
can
direct
do,
supervision.
Have to have it.
Right.
Okay. So they could do it right there with their parent?
Yes.
Okay.
They just can't purchase them. You have to be 18 to purchase them.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
And right now, I think there are open right now. I think we have 5 tents that are open around town, and I think
Not near as
three or
many.
4 more are actually getting ready to open up.
Oh, are they?
So we may have up to 9 tents by the time
How many
it's all
did we
said and
have
done.
last year?
I think it was about the same amount,
Was it?
actually.
Okay. It seemed to me like it was a little bit less this year, but maybe they're just not up yet.
Right. Some of them, I think, are in the process of actually getting checked by the fire department because they have
Okay.
to check all that stuff out.
Sure. Well, they better hurry up. It's going to be the 4th of July.
Right. Hopefully it gets here and gone.
Yes.
So, I mean, we had a large increase of calls between 2016 and 2017.
Oh, did
It was
you?
actually 174% increase in calls through September 12th of last year,
On people doing fireworks?
just on fireworks alone.
Wow.
Yeah. So our guys were kind of chasing their tail doing it. So
And then when
please,
the law came out,
I just ask that people please just shoot them off when the times are allowed, because
Sure.
it's okay if you're doing it then, but if you're still doing it afterwards, obviously we're going to have to deal with you, and we don't
Right.
want to write any citations.
No.
And we did last year. We wrote a lot more.
Did you?
We did. We wrote 8 more, so we had almost a 265% increase in citations. Now, the year before, there was only 3.
3 citations?
Then it went up to 11 last year.
Okay.
So, but last year was also when you could get the fireworks too. So,
Right.
It's being dealt with a little bit differently
Okay.
too. So, because we had a lot more complaints.
So are any fireworks legal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Okay.
sure what, you got the ones that rattle your windows, which are quite annoying to me because that's the ones that are waking me up, and I
Mm-hmm. Sure.
get mad too, just like everybody else does.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they're shooting all these off, and again, it's okay. Just please do it during that time frame.
Okay.
Because respect other people's wishes and the law,
Mm-hmm.
and just follow the rules. So that's all we ask.
People talk about their dogs struggling with it, PTSD from soldiers. Have you
Yes.
heard those kinds of things too?
I have heard that from people, and
Okay.
that's unfortunate. And I'll be honest with you, it's one of the, in my opinion, it wasn't a very good law to pass. But I'm not a legislator either, so.
Sure,
But
sure.
I'd tell them the same thing if they were sitting here. But
Yeah.
I think they made a mistake. But again, I didn't get.
Right. What do you think their rationale was? Have they ever said that?
No,
I have not
I really
heard.
don't know. I don't
I
know
have-
if it's for. I'm assuming it's for tax revenue.
Maybe.
I don't know. So,
Maybe.
I wish they'd give us a good explanation as to why they did it.
Sure. And it was right before the 4th last year. I mean, there was
Right.
barely any time at all.
Didn't give us a chance to do anything other than really sit down and think about how we're
Right.
going to do this. And then, as you know, we had to go in front of city council and figure out how are we going to handle this. We have
Sure.
like 3 days to figure this out.
Yep.
So, again, I think we've done a pretty good job with it since then. We made some changes, and I'm glad that the city council went along with just having a couple days. So.
Yeah, I am too. And then, well, I better not say that too loud. Some people really love them. But it is something that impacts your neighbors.
Right.
And even if you love them, you have to be a good neighbor.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, if your neighbors are asking you to quit it and they can't sleep or something, that's still illegal too, because you have the right in your home to not have to listen to. It's no different than a stereo next door.
Sure.
It's legal most of the time, but if it's bothering somebody, we're going to ask that you quit.
Is that disturbing the peace then?
Disturbing the peace,
Okay.
pervading disturbance of the peace.
Sure, sure.
So obviously we don't want to get to that.
No.
And most neighbors are good. They're going to quit
Sure.
when we show up and say, your neighbors are complaining. Just
Right.
give it a rest for the night.
Give it a rest.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
there is one other time that this is legal, right?
right. Last day of the year.
Last day of the year, New Year's Eve.
I don't know why you'd want to be out on New Year's Eve shooting fireworks. A little cold for me, but
My brother does. My husband does on December 31st. It's a tradition, I guess.
but at least your windows are closed.
Yes.
So
Yes. But we do it out in the country. The guys go out on the deck and do it out in the country at my brother's,
right.
out there next to CJ. He lives
Oh,
next to
yes.
CJ. So you can bother CJ.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Shoot them off around him. Yeah. See if he likes them.
That's right. Anything else that, besides the fireworks, that, it's summertime, are you guys seeing anything that the public needs to know to be aware of, to not do, to...
Well, some of the
What do
things
you-
we're seeing, we're seeing some car burglaries right now. So
Are we?
please lock your doors
Okay.
on your cars and your vehicles. Don't leave things out in the open for people to see.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest you take everything inside. You know, if you're gonna leave your car open, don't leave something in there for somebody to just
Well,
open
sure.
the door. And
Yes.
you wouldn't believe how many times that happens too, so. Yeah, that's one of the things that's going on right now. As for the
burglars.
4th of July, you know, we're having the parade, so.
Yes.
Hopefully people, again, don't bring your fireworks down to the parade and start shooting them off, or we're gonna deal with you.
Because you can't do that?
Because you can't do that.
Okay.
So,
Is it only in your own yard?
only in your own yard,
On
or
your
if
own
you're at
property.
somebody else's property that allows
Okay.
it,
So not on public property?
Not on public property.
Okay, see, I bet you people don't know that.
Anything from the sidewalk to the street is considered city property, and you can't shoot them off on that. So even
Okay.
on the sidewalks, it's not legal.
Okay,
So make sure it's in your yard.
sure. And I bet people do put them on the sidewalk
They
for the
do.
stability
Right.
rather than
Shoot their
being
bottle
in the
rockets
grass.
off.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because you don't want them to tip over on that grass.
Right.
But yeah.
And there again, it falls back on the homeowner, can be charged for that, so.
Okay.
Please make sure you're abiding by the rules.
Right.
And the flyer, I think, is on our website.
Uh-huh.
So I would suggest if you have questions on what the rules are, to look
Okay.
at the website and look at that. So-
Sure.
Or call the fire department or myself or one of the officers, and we can guide you to what you can and can't do.
Right.
So, again, we're not out there looking for people doing it. We usually
No.
respond to it, and we've got other things to be dealing with.
Sure.
So.
I know there's a lot of kids out playing. I would sure hope and encourage that people would be careful driving around.
That's my biggest fear too, is just
Oh, my
driving
goodness.
the streets for our officers, these
Yeah.
kids darting out from between the cars,
Yes.
and always been a fear of mine,
I
even
know.
responding to calls.
And unfortunately, some of our streets don't have sidewalks.
Correct.
And so then.
Makes it even worse.
Yes, we have family over on Devitt. There's no sidewalk on either
Mm-hmm.
side. And so people walk with their dogs or.
I'm one
down-
of those
or-
people.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't run me over, please.
Right down the road. I know.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but they don't have anywhere else to go.
no, and I would suggest you walk into traffic too. Don't walk with your back to traffic,
Right.
so you can
Right.
see what's coming at you.
Yep. And little kids riding their bikes and.
Right.
The other thing I
Helmets
see.
on
Yes,
kids and
helmets,
adults.
yep.
I have noticed, it seems like a lot more families are doing that with their kids.
I'm seeing
I
that
never
too.
wore a helmet when I was a kid.
Me neither, but I think it's becoming more.
Traditional, just
Yep.
to do it, and it's a safety
It
issue.
is a safety thing.
Takes that one fall, and
Yep.
you could be damaged, brain damage.
Right.
So,
I always preach
seriously
to,
injured.
yes, very much. I always preach to the kids when you're going by a driveway, you've got to be looking, because if somebody's backing out,
They're not going to see you.
they're not going to
Right.
see you right there.
Always assume somebody's going to pull out in front
Yes.
of you, even when you're driving.
Yep,
So,
defensive.
a lot of little tips.
Save
I've
your
learned
life.
over the
Yes.
years. So.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
But it's so far it's been a pretty good summer. I know it just got started, but
Yep,
I think our guys and girls are doing a great job out there
I
and
think so.
doing some good things in the community
Yep.
too. So
There's some
Always
kids
looking to
with
do that.
bikes. Yep,
yeah,
out playing. So yeah, keep your eye out for the youngsters and keep them safe.
right. Big, we do a lot of bike patrol during the 4th of July, and
Mm-hmm.
we're also starting to do it at nights too when we have our overlap shifts. So,
Are you?
Yeah.
That's
Works
great.
out well, like down in the downtown area, because that was one of the concerns over the
Sure.
years is not feeling safe in the downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to get our bike guys out as much as can and do a lot of walking patrols. So
I bet they like that too.
they do. I enjoyed doing it when I was
Yeah.
working the street, and like I say, it's a very simple concept of just letting people know that you're out and about and get to know you and not just the uniform, because
That's
that's
right.
the problem that
That's right.
a lot of these young people have is all they're wanting to do is text. They don't want to communicate with people. So
True.
I'm trying to break down that barrier, that squad car. So
Oh, good
always
luck
a big
with that.
push. Yeah, it's kind of challenging at times.
People walk around texting,
know.
and you're like, "Are you even watching a car?"
almost running into people. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yep.
Well, let's really hope for a wonderful 4th of July. Safe. Keep everybody safe and have a good time. And
Yeah, it's going to be 115 degrees, so
oh,
get
probably.
used to that. And
yeah,
yeah, be patient. Another thing I ask after the fireworks and stuff is be patient getting out of the
Yes.
riverfront and the downtown area.
It's gonna
Let
be a
the
challenge,
officers try to
isn't
get
it?
you out of there, because we do our best to let everybody go, so you don't need to be honking at us for 5 minutes when we're making you wait. So
yeah.
yeah, be patient and don't run over the officers, please.
What are we going to have to contend with for construction getting out of there?
I think 7th in Iowa is going to be open.
That's what I heard.
That's what I'm hearing. So I think it might even be paved, which would be even better.
That would be better.
So but I think anything to the east of there will not be open. Or I'm sorry, to the west of there will not be open. So,
Okay.
but people are going to find their way out. So
They
again,
are.
just be patient,
Be
take your
patient.
time, and
Yeah, people think they got to
take
be
some side
right this
streets
minute.
if you have to. I
Yeah.
mean, if you live here, you know how to get out of town.
Right.
So.
Or walk a few
Or
blocks
walk,
down.
exactly. I mean, we're in
Yeah.
our blue zone, right? Let's
There
do
you
it.
go. There you go. Well, thanks, Chief, for
Yeah,
coming.
thanks
We
for having me. I
appreciate
appreciate it. It was
hey,
fun.
if anything comes up, give us a holler.
I will.
Love to have
again,
you back.
please abide by the rules. That's all I ask you,
That's
folks.
it.
Thank you, and have a good 4th of July.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Chief, for coming.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, let's finish out the evening here. We just want to show you and talk to you about just a couple of little things coming up. Talking about 4th of July, we are going to have Shane Orr with United Way is going to be doing the Kids First Breakfast with United Way. And Lindsay Phillips is going to be coming and talking to us next week about Over the Edge. Those are our 2 guests next week. But talking about the 4th of July. Bye, Chief. Good to see you. Just talking about the 4th of July, we have all kinds of stuff coming up for our 4th of July celebration here in Muscatine. We don't want you to miss out. Of course, we're going to start with the Kids First Breakfast. We're going to have the Soapbox Derby. We're going to have the parade. We're going to have all kinds of stuff for families to do, mostly the entire day. So come on out and have a good time. We're all praying for good weather. And then, of course, we'll end it with the fireworks in the evening. As the chief said, let's all be safe. Let's all be courteous to our neighbors and have a good time. Thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week. Of course, our guests again are going to be Shane Orr and Lindsay Phillips. Thanks again, and please have a good evening. And thanks for coming to talk with us at Our City.
Our City with Mayor Diana Broderson replays on MPW Channel 9, Wednesday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. and Thursday at 7 a.m. Of course, we're live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on Facebook. Email us at ourcity@muscatineiowa.gov.